Hello everyone, welcome to session 34 of Theory of Computation or Formal Languages and Automata Theory. So in today's session, we'll discuss about the two-stack PDA and we will construct the two-stack PDA for the given language properties. And followed by that, we will also discuss the applications of PDA. So let us have a look on the two-stack PDA. So already this concept we discussed in the previous session. So this two-stack PDA is nothing but it is a push-down automata with two stacks. So basically, a push-down automata is having one stack, right? So it is a finite automata along with one stack, right? So that is the PDA. So for this PDA, we are adding one more stack, right? So since we are having the two stacks here, it is called as two-stack PDA. Okay. So why we are adding the one stack additional to the PDA? So the adding of that additional stack to the PDA will increase the language acceptance. Okay. So the languages or class of languages accepted by two PDA is larger than the languages which are accepted by the PDA. Okay. So by adding this additional stack will improve the power of the PDA. Okay. So we will see that this two stack PDA can accept the context free language and also context sensitive language, recursive enumerable languages, and more than that. Okay. So uh, uh, by adding that stack, it is increasing its capability to accept more languages than the push down automata. Okay. So it accepts context free language, along with it it accepts context sensitive language and recursive enumerable languages, and many more complex languages as well. Okay. So generally this two stack PDA is mathematically represented by using around 9 tuples here: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So Q is the finite set of states, sigma is the finite set of input symbol, tau 1 is the stack symbols of stack 1, tau 2 is the stack symbols of stack 2, delta is a transition function, Q naught is the starting state, Z naught is the initial stack symbol of stack 1, and Z1 is the initial stack symbol of stack 2. Okay, and F is the set of final states. Okay. So here if you see this mathematical representation, in general PDA we are having 7 tuples, right? But here we are having this 9 tuples. So why? Because as we are adding one more stack here, so the stack symbols related to that stack and along with one initial stack symbol, these two additional attributes are tuples we are adding here, right? So because of this inclusion of this additional stack. Okay. So these are about the tuple notation of two stack PDA. So this is the model of two stack PDA. So as I mentioned earlier, that two PDA is more powerful than the PDA because that two PDA can accept all context free languages and also other languages that are not context free. Okay. So the formal languages which are above the category or above the level of these context free languages are also accepted by this 2 PDA. Okay. So just like context sensitive language, right? So it is somehow complex language than the context free language, right? So that context sensitive language can also be accepted by this push down automata, right? So that is the meaning here. So 2 PDA is equivalent to the Turing machine, right? So this 2 PDA is equivalent to the another mathematical model which is called as Turing machine, right? So Turing machine is the more powerful automaton which can accept different types of languages, right? So we will discuss about this Turing machine in detail in the coming sessions, right? So just for time being, just remember that this 2 PDA is equivalent to the Turing machine. Okay. So this is the model of the 2 PDA. So actually we are going to have the input tape. To read the input symbols from the input tape, we are having this read head. Okay. Along with that, we are having the two stacks, stack 1 and stack 2. Okay. So we are having this stack 1. The bottom of the stack is represented by Z0, and we are having the stack 2 in which the bottom of the stack is represented by Z1. Okay. and we are having a finite control as well, which performs that state transition by considering current input symbol, uh, top of the stack 1 and top of the stack 2, right? So here the delta transition function maps current state, okay, then current input, okay, then stack symbol or top of stack 1 and top of stack 2, tau 1, tau 2, okay, and it produce a new state, that is q. Along with it, we may have certain operations on stack 1, so that means tau 1 star, and along with we may have some stack operations in stack 2, or that is going to be represented as tau star, right? So this is the transition function which look like in this 2 PDA. The next one is that, as I mentioned, transition to a state depends on present state, present input, top of stack 1 and top of stack 2 to produce next state with push or pop operations on stack 1 and stack 2, right? So this tau 1 star is nothing but somehow that is representing the operations on stack 1, tau star is representing the operations on stack 2, right? So if it is a push operation, we will write or we will specify the symbols that are pushed onto the stack. If it is pop operation, we simply represent it by epsilon. So that is the normal operation which we already performed in the push down automata, right? So additionally, along with this q cross tau star, we are getting tau 2 star also, okay, because we have added one more stack here, okay. Next one, let us construct this 2 PDA for this language L is equal to a power n, b power n, c power n, such that n value is greater than or equal to 1, right? So generally, if you see this language, it is not a context-free language. It is purely a context-sensitive language. Why? Because there is a relationship between number of A's, number of B's, and number of C's, right? So if you take a PDA, you can establish or you can check the relation between number of A's and number of B's, okay? But you cannot check it with respect to the third part of the input, that means number of C's. But since we are having the two stacks here, we could able to check whether the number of A's, number of B's, and number of C's are equal or not, right? So because of the additional stack, okay. So how, first thing is that for the given language, you need to write down the set of strings. So let me write the set of strings here by taking the n value initially as 1. So if I take n, a power 1, b power 1, c power 1, you will get the string a, b, c. If I take n value 2, that means a square, b square, c square, you will get double a, double b, double c. If I take n value 3, you will get a cube, b cube, and c cube, okay. Likewise, the set of strings could be generated based upon the given language property, that means the mathematical representation. And next one, how do we implement the logic here? So here the number of A's must be compared with the number of B's, and number of B's must be compared with the number of C's, right? So first we will see the number of A's comparing with the number of B's, and then number of B's will be compared with the number of C's, right? So here we are having stack 1 and stack 2. So the moment when we read A, we have to push those A's onto the stack. Let me take the string A, B, B, C, C. Okay, I am taking some larger string here. So what is the first input? It is A. So when the moment when you get A, you have to push it onto the stack. Okay. So initially I am taking Z0 as the bottom of the stack. So for first A we will push it. For second A we will push it onto the stack 1. Okay. Done. Next one, B. So the moment when we get B, we have to uh, uh, push B onto the stack 2. Okay, so the moment when we get B, we have to push that B onto the stack 2. Okay, so let me say stack 2 is having a bottom of the stack as Z1, right? So here, uh, what we are going to do here is we are pushing B onto the stack 2. Okay, so the second input is, third input is B, so we are pushing it onto the stack 2, and the next input is also B, we are pushing it onto the stack 2. Okay, now next the input is C. Okay, so the moment when we get C, we have to pop the both the stack, right? So the moment when we see the input C, we have to pop the stack 1 as well as stack 2, right? So this process we will keep on. So first C we got, so pop the stack 1, so A will be popped up, and pop the stack 2 so that the B will be popped out. Okay, next input is again C. Since C, again pop stack 1 and pop stack 2. Done. And at the end of the input, that means if you get an epsilon and if the stack content is Z0 and Z1, we could say that the string processing has been done and we move to the final state. Okay, and we move to the final state. So this is how do we implement the logic for this particular 2 PDA. Okay, so here we are having the 4 steps which I have mentioned here. On reading A, we push A onto the stack 1. On reading B, we push B onto the stack 2. When scanning C is started, one C pops the top of both the stacks. Okay, that means whenever you read one particular C, you have to pop the stack 1 and stack 2 as well. Okay, next, by doing this way, n number of C's pops n number of A's and number of B's uh, from both the stacks, and as a result, when the input is exhausted, both stacks will get empty. Okay, so here the stack empty means when we get an epsilon, the top of the stack 1 is having Z0 and top of the stack 2 is having Z1, right? So at this particular moment, we will go to the final state. Okay, so here how do we write the transition function? See here. So first delta of, we start from the starting state q naught. Okay, so consider that the first input is A. So in this particular language property, every string must start with A. So the first symbol must be A. Top of the stack 1 will be the Z0 and top of the stack 2 will be the Z1. Okay, so current state q naught, current input A, top of stack 1 Z0, top of stack 1 the Z0, top of stack 2 Z1. Okay, now what we are doing, by remaining in q naught, we are going to push A's. Okay, so in which stack we are pushing A? In stack 1, right? So first we have to push Z0 in stack 1 and then A into the stack 1. Okay, so A Z0 comma, and second stack we are just pushing Z1 as it is, right? So this is restoring this, that means stack 2 with Z1. Okay, now that was done. Next one, if the present state is q naught, if the current input is A, top of the stack 1 is also A, and stack 2 top of the stack is Z1, then what we will do, since the input is A and top of the stack 1 is A, we have to push A, right? So we will be in same state q naught, we have to push A. Why? Because this A is nothing but top of the stack that we have took out, and next one is this A is nothing but the input, right? And then Z1 we will push it onto the stack 2 as it is, right? Next one. So this is the 2 steps that represents the pushing of symbol A onto the stack 1. Okay, next in q naught, if we get the input as B and top of the stack, sorry, if the input is B, top of the stack 1 is A and Z1 is the top of the stack 2, then what we have to do, we have to push B onto the stack 2, right? So you will be in state q1. So q1 indicates that we have seen B, and in q1 state we will keep on pushing B's into the stack 2, right? So go to the state q1 comma, push the A that we have taken out from the stack 1, and next push B Z1 into the stack 2. Okay, because Z1 is we have taken out for checking, so we have to push Z1 and followed by the input B onto the stack 2. Okay, next one, if we are in state q1, top of the stack is B, sorry, current input is B, top of stack 1 is A and top of stack 2 is B. So this is input B and top of the stack 2 is B. What we will do, we have to push B by remaining in q1. So B in state q1, that means push back A onto the stack 1, then push BB onto the stack 2. Okay, then next one. So this process will continue as long as we get the B. Okay, next one, if you are in state q1, input is C, top of the stack is A, top of the stack 2 is B, right? Since the input is A, what we have to do, we have to pop both the stacks, right? By remaining, by going to the state q2, right? So the moment when we get C in q1, we will go to the state q2, right? So here we go to the state q2 and pop stack 1, so that's why epsilon. and pop stack 2, that's why epsilon. So q2 comma epsilon, right? So in q2 if you get c and top of the stack is a and top of the stack 2 is b, then b in the same state, q2 pop stack 1, that is epsilon, comma pop stack 2, that is epsilon. Okay. And next in q2, if the input is epsilon, that means nothing to process, and top of the stack 1 is z0 and top of the stack 2 is z1, then we will go to the final state qf. Okay. And we are going to what we are going to here is that we are going to push z0 in stack 1 and z1 in stack 2, right? So here we are having this uh, one mistake here, that is epsilon, so remove it. So we will get qf comma z0 comma z1. So qf comma z0 comma z1. So we will get qf comma z0 comma z1. So please change it in a that material also. So this is how we could write this transition function delta. Okay. And if you represent this in a form of a tuple notation, we will get m is equal to set of states q1 q0 comma q1 comma q2 comma qf, set of input symbols a comma b, set of that means stack 1 uh, set of stack symbols, that is tau 1 will be a comma z0, because in stack 1 we are pushing a's along with z0. In that means comma tau 2, okay, tau 2, it is nothing but stack 2 symbols b comma z1. Delta transition function z0 is bottom of stack 1, z1 is bottom of stack 2, comma q0 is the starting state, and set of qf is the final state. Okay. So this is how we represent it in a mathematical representation. Okay. So I hope this concept is clear. Next one, let us take some more complex language. L is equal to set of all strings a power n, b power n, c power n, d power n, such that n is greater than or equal to 0. Okay. So here, since n is greater than or equal to 0 means n is equal to 0 is the first what we can call it as the first constant that we can take. So the moment when we take n is equal to 0, you will get a power 0, b power 0, c power d 0, d power 0. So this is nothing but L is equal to epsilon. So epsilon is going to be accepted here since n is starting with 0 here. Next, a power 1, b power 1, c power 1, d power 1. So a, b, c, d will be the second string. Next, a square, b square, c square, d square. So a, b, b, c, c, d, d. That will be the another string. Okay. So if you keep on substituting the different n values, you will get a different combinations here. Okay. Right. So how do we implement this logic a power n, b power n, c power n, and d power n? So first what we will do is that the moment when we get a, push that a's onto the stack 1. The moment when we get b, so compare that b with a and pop the stack 1. Okay. So what we have to do is that whenever we get a b, first one compare that b with that stack 1, top of the stack 1, and push that b onto the stack 2. Okay. And next one, when we get c, the b's will be popped out from the stack 2, and c we are going to push in stack 1. Okay. And finally when we get d, we have to that means what we have to do, we have to pop this c's from the stack 1. Okay. So see here, 3 steps: scan a's and store on stack 1. On scanning b's, for each b pop a from stack 1, and simultaneously b is pushed onto the stack 2. When scanning b is completed, the stack 1 gets empty and stack 2 contains b's. Okay. And next one, when c's are scanned, the b's popped from stack 2 and c's are popped on stack 1. And finally these are scanned by emptying the stack 1 filled with c's. Okay. So let me explain with one example here. A, my string is a, b, b, c, c, and d, d. Okay. So we have to compare all these, right? So how we can do? So first one, we are taking the stack 1. Let me say stack 1, and this is stack 2. Okay. So initially the stack 1 is having something like z0. So first input is a, so push a onto the stack. Next input is a, push a onto the stack 1. Okay. Next one. So next input is b. So the moment when we get B, pop stack 1 and simultaneously push B onto the stack 2. So let me take the bottom of stack 2 is Z1. So I am pushing B. Okay. And popping this stack 1. Next input is B. So pop stack 1 and push B onto the stack 2. Okay, done. Next. So when we get C, what we have to do here is that the moment when we get C, we have to pop stack 2. Okay. So stack 1, let me say here again, I am having Z0 only in stack 1. Okay, and having Z1 followed by B onto the stack 2. So this is the status when we get the C. Okay. So when we get C, what we have to do, we have to pop stack 2. So B will be popped and push this C onto the stack 1. Done. Next input is again C. So pop stack 2. That is B will be popped from stack 2 and C will be pushed onto the stack 1. Okay. Done. Next, if you see the stack 2, after that processing of C input, it will containing Z1. Okay. Next, the moment when we get D, we have to pop stack 1. So D, pop stack 1, C will be popped out. Next input is D, pop stack 1. So another C will be popped out. Next, at the end, we don't have anything to process, so we are having epsilon. If you take the top of stack 1, it is Z0. If you take top of stack 2, it is Z1. So at this point of time, we will go to the final state by announcing successful acceptance of the string. Okay. So this is how we could implement it. So based on that, we could write this state transition function here. So see, initially delta, initial state Q0, comma, input is epsilon, comma Z0, comma Z1. So here, this is the transition function, first one that we are writing for accepting the empty language, right? So because the n value is starting with 0 somehow, so the first string that is going to be accepted by this 2 PDA will be epsilon. So Q0 comma epsilon comma Z0 comma Z1 means you will go to the state final state QF by pushing Z0 onto the stack 1 and Z1 onto the stack 2. Okay. So this is the case that was added here because of n value is equal to 0. Okay. Next one, if we are in state Q0, input is A, top of the stack 1 is Z0 and top of the stack 2 is Z1, then we will be in same state Q0 and push A onto the stack 1. So what we are pushing A Z0 in stack 1 and we are pushing Z1 onto the stack 2. Okay. Next is if we are in Q0, if the input is A and top of the stack is also A and top of the stack 2 is Z1, then we will be in same state Q0 and push A onto the stack 1 and Z1 onto the stack 2. Okay. So these two are representing the transition functions whenever we get input A in stack Q0. Okay. And next one, if we are in state Q0, if the input is B, top of the stack 1 is A and top of the stack 2 is Z1, then what we are doing, we are popping the stack 1 and pushing Z1 into the stack 2. So we will be in same state Q0 comma epsilon, that means we are popping stack 1 and we are pushing B onto the stack 2, that's why we are writing BZ1. Okay. And next one, in Q0, if we get input B and top of the stack is again A, okay, top of the stack 1 is A and top of the stack 2 is B, then what we will do, we will be in same state Q0, pop the stack 1, okay, and push BB onto the stack 2. Okay. The next one, in Q0, if we get input C, top of the stack 1 is Z0 and top of the stack 2 is B, then what we are doing here is that we are popping stack 2 and pushing C in stack 1, right? So the resulting state will be Q0, comma, we are pushing C Z0 in stack 1, comma, epsilon means we are popping stack 2. Okay, done. If we are in Q0, if the input is C, top of the stack 1 is C, top of the stack 2 is B, then what we will do, we will be in same state Q0, push CC onto the stack 1 and pop the stack 2. So that's why comma epsilon we are writing here. Okay, and next one in q naught, if the input is D, top of the stack 1 is C, top of the stack 2 is Z1, then we have to pop stack 1. So q naught comma epsilon, that means popping stack 1, comma Z1, that means we are restoring Z1 into the stack 2 again. And next one, if the state is q naught, if the input is epsilon, that means we have processed the entire string. Top of the stack is Z naught, okay, and top of the stack 2 is Z1. Then we will go to the final state. Okay, go to the final state and push Z naught comma Z1 into the stack 1 and stack 2. Okay, so this is how we could write this state transition functions. Okay, so here just I try to implement this entire logic with two states, Q naught and QF. Okay, you may take any number of state, it doesn't matter, but the PDA which is having less number of states is going to be considered as the efficient one, right? So, however, you may take any number of states to represent this language acceptance. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, anyway, any two PDA which accepts a given language and which rejects the language which is not in the language is correct. Okay. So, this is about the two PDA. And next one, the last topic is applications of PDA. So this pushdown automata is generally used in the parsing phase of the compiler, right? So let me explain what is this parsing phase, right? So the moment when we give this input program to the compiler, when we give the input program to the compiler, whether it is .c file or .java file, the compiler will check for the syntactic errors, right? So in order to check for the syntactic errors, it has to match the given input program with respect to the grammar rules, right? So the given input program has to be matched with the grammar rules. So behind the screen, every programming language consisting of semantic rules in a form of context-free grammar, right? So I already explained that programming language syntax is defined by using context-free grammar, right? So what happened whenever we give the input program or input source file as the input to the compiler will check this input source program with respect to the grammar rules or in accordance with the grammar rules. So if that input program satisfies the grammar rules, then that program is considered as syntactically valid. Okay, and if this program is not syntactically valid, the compiler is going to flash error messages to the user for correction, right? So this is how that compilation is done with respect to the syntax analysis, right? So what I mean to say is that this pushdown automata is used for syntax checking, okay, in parsing phase of the compiler. Okay, so that process of checking the syntax of the input program with respect to the grammar rules is called as parsing. Okay, so this is parsing is one of the phases of the compiler, right? So generally in the parsing we are having two types, top down parsing and bottom up parsing. Okay, so that top down parsing and bottom up parsing I have explained here. So what is the top down parsing? So we already discussed about the derivation, right? So what is the derivation? It is generating the string by applying the grammar rules, right? So already we know that for example we are having a grammar rule like e denotes e plus e, right? E denotes e plus e or id. So these are the grammar rules, right? So I want to derive the string id plus id, id plus id. So to derive this string, what I have to do is that I have to apply the derivation. That means I have to start with the start symbol, capital E, derives. Then I have to replace that E with its derivation. Sorry, it's with definition. So its definition is E plus E. Then I replace leftmost E with its definition, that is ID, ID plus E. And next one, I replace last E with its definition so that I will get ID plus ID, right? ID plus ID. Right. So this process is called as derivation, right? So if you observe this scenario, here we derived the string by taking the start symbol, right? So we have derived the string from the start symbol, right? So if we perform this type of derivation, it is called as top-down parsing, right? So where the string is generated or derived from the start symbol of the grammar. So this process we call it as a top-down parsing. If we apply the reverse process where from a given string we have to generate the start symbol of the grammar. So this is called as bottom up parsing, right? So bottom up parsing is nothing but uh, converting the given input string w into the start symbol of the grammar. Okay, so this is called as bottom up parsing. So see here, id plus id is reduced to start symbol of the grammar, right? So this is the types of parsing: top down parsing and bottom up parsing. Okay, and in case of parsing we can construct the parse tree. Okay, already we discussed about parse tree, so we can able to construct the parse tree for either top down parsing or bottom up parsing. Okay, so basically if you consider the tree in top down parsing, it is constructed from root to the leaf. If we see the parse tree construction in bottom up parsing, it is constructed from leaf to the root. Okay, so top down means, remember, starting from root node to the leaf node, it is top down. Since we are starting with the start symbol of the grammar and we are going to get a string w. Okay, so constructing the parse tree from root to the leaf node is called as top down parsing, and bottom up parsing is nothing but constructing the tree from leaf node to the root node, from leaf to the root node is called as bottom up parsing. Okay, and next one, this push down automata can also be used for evaluating the arithmetic expressions. Okay, so this PDA can also be used for evaluating the arithmetic expressions, right? So if we consider, we have evaluated like number of A's are number of B's and number of C's are same or not, right? So this is some sort of evaluation that we have performed by using the push down automata. Okay, so that's it for this concept. So in this unit we discussed about that construction of push down automata. We have seen that what are the various properties of push down automata, how to construct the push down automata for different languages. Then we have seen this equivalence between CFG and PDA. We converted CFG to PDA, PDA to CFG. Then we have seen the two stack PDA concept, and then we have seen the applications of PDA, right? So this is the unit 4. So just refer this unit once. If you get any queries, uh, try to get in touch with me. I will answer all your queries in the next session. Okay, so thank you for attending this session. In the next unit we will discuss about the Turing machine. Okay, thank you, have a nice day.